Now there's this movie that Linda taped. It's called My Boss's Daughter. It has Ashton Kutcher in it. Um, and some other girl who, again, I don't watch this whole movie because her version of America is like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's so intrusively like painful to listen to. I just don't enjoy the mannerisms. I don't enjoy the. She's beautiful, but in a quiet tabletop magazine, maybe, not on moving pictures. So, what caught my attention was um, in Lloyd Harbor Elementary graduation, which I think was 89, sixth grade graduation into seventh grade. There was a ceremony, there was a song that we performed. There was a person who met me in the courtyard and then met with my parents, and then we went to some place to have something, and I was excited. There was something about, I don't know if it was holiday mentioned, not quite sure. However, there was something very birdcage like in whoever was there and being introduced almost as like a bird in a cage, and I was the bird. I didn't understand. Again, it was a person who visited me while I was, again, in elementary school. Do you call it captive? Do you call it captivated? It was school. It was whatever the locals. It was just to stay, have a place to stay and stay safe, I guess, during the day. Kind of, sort of. And I guess the education that I was being professed was very regulated in whatever was going on in the great beyond. Not just in New York State, but in the great beyond for pressurized control, I suppose. So I remember that bird reference. I remember, I'm pretty sure it was the same person who came to watch Dances with Wolves. Not quite sure if it's the same, but it's usually that very rugby looking shirt and a very specific whatever. So then I'm watching Linda tape this, and now again I find it totally irritating. This form of American is like everything I've always hated, which is why I don't particularly care for the recycled Jets, whatever, in TIMEFRAME from 1975. They didn't want him. I don't know why. Or his whatever. I don't know why I would want it, but here we are. So I'm watching this movie, and it's 2003 now. The professor, I had a professor who looks so much like the man who is this father figure in this particular movie, who again is very, very serious. But his daughter, again, is this girl, and it's a whatever on that. So it's a spin or a spoof or a play on whatever. So I'm watching it, and it's the first time I've ever seen an American movie mention that he has a bird, and it's his bird. And there's like this almost teenage-like relationship that they're trying to portray, and I'm trying to follow along, and I'm like, now is this like one of those, like, if it goes wrong message? Is this how they got it to go wrong? And acknowledgement? I'm not real clear on this. But here we are. It's year 2022. Oh, and the main character guy's name for some reason in the movie is Tom. Again, I don't write these scripts, and that's why I have my aviators on. I don't have on my twinning classes at the moment because I have no idea what this is all about.
How the hell could he be so excited about house sitting?
He's nice, Daddy. That's how. Most guys wouldn't even offer to do that.
I don't know if I want him round my bird.
Oh, Dad, will you just relax? It's gonna be fine, I promise, okay?
I'll check in as soon as I get there. 8 o'clock.
No, I had a professor that taught Italian, and he had a very distinct mannerism which I very much appreciated. I have no idea where, what town. My memory is not that good at this point. But that's the level of seriousness that I appreciate and that I honor. This movie, it shows the leveled difference between that real man who looks an awful lot like this character in a kind of sort of and I forget the actor's name. I had it at one point, but again, I don't follow the movies unless they specifically interrupt my daily path at this point. So,
If I sense anything's wrong, you coming back here.
Okay? Okay.
and again, why would he want to house sit? Now, when we talk about the house, are we talking about the bit for Aleph, which I just recently found as hieroglyph? Hieroglyph. Again, linguistics in this category. I have nobody to ask in from the scholarly department of does this for a living. And I think this character portrayal of this fictional character, Tom, is supposed to be like this new age American doofus, like spoof. He's got to watch the house. He's new to this, whatever. That's the way they portray it. I don't know real life how that is integrated, but again, I know I was somebody's bird at some point in a cage. And unfortunately, the correct person that used to be there in my youth to get me to the correct marriage somehow was thwarted from arriving properly. So I don't know what kind of mixed message on Star War they're going off of. And this is a long battle.
Very good.
I think the arms department at Armory appreciates he takes his shoes off at the front door if he's house sitting.
Very good. Right on time. Oh, sir. Is that a bear trap? Yes. It's to keep the neighbors' kids out of my yard.
Sir, I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate you. letting tonight happen. I mean, I know it means a lot to Lisa, and I think you're doing the right thing.
I don't know what you're planning, Stansfield, but your attitude is making me very nervous. Those socks are clean, right? You hesitated. Put those on.
Are you serious?
There's that word. Serious.
If you want to watch TV, the remote's there. That panel controls the lights, alarm, skylight, etc.
Yeah, I probably won't use any of that stuff. Since the party starts at 7.
Party. I made it clear to Lisa you're not to have any guests in here. You're the only one allowed in the house.
What? Lisa's not here?
No, of course not.
Lisa's at the party, and I'm staying here.
Is this concept too complicated for you, Stansfield? Don't touch the furniture. This is my bird's room.
He's got his own room? That's cool.
How's my little boy? This is OJ.
OJ? Like the murderer?
No. The football player, OJ Simpson. I've set the alarm. When you hear it go off, feed it.
What do I feed these little guys?
They don't get fed. They are the food. His diet varies, but there is favorites.
Hey, don't you have to shut these doors?
Not anymore. He's been depressed since his mate died. He won't fly. Just sits in his cage. Medication. Give him 2 of these at 10 o'clock.
I have to shove these down his throat?
Just one. The other is inserted into his rectum. Don't worry, it's not too important for him.
He doesn't bite, does he?
No? Not unless you taunt him. You're not planning on taunting him, are you, Tom? I mean, that'd be really sick.
No, of course not.
And the most important thing, make sure he gets a pint of water. The medication tends to dry him out and then he can't breathe.
Okay.
Well, I must be off. Henderson should be waiting outside.
Thanks. Thought you fired him.
Because ideas were stupid? Of course not. He's been driving to the train station. So, you can leave as soon as Lisa and Hans get back.
Hans?
Lisa's boyfriend. So, remember, water in the bowl, medication, and anything happens to this house while I'm gone, I'll kill you.
House sitting? You gotta be kidding me.
What about socks?
What are you talking about? Don't you see, this is a test. You watch Taylor's house, you come up with a couple of great ideas, and if everything goes smooth, you get the promotion.
You think so?
Of course I do. What could be easier?
Now, what's interesting enough is what transpires there after that scene is a bunch of episodes of, lack of a better term, humans coming into and invading the sacred space of this house that he's sitting. And these vagrants, migrants, vagabonds, these humans track dirt through the floor in the house. One's got some thing he's flushing down the toilet. There's other things going on. And poor Tom is sitting there like, you all really need to leave the house. Like, you're not supposed to be here. This is like sacred ground. Like, I'm responsible for this house. You all need to leave. And it just goes on from there. But I don't have the stomach to watch the whole thing because it's so cliche, mindless, mind-numbing America over the last 20 years where everything's gone wrong in it started out in elementary school. Like, it looked like the correct person was put in charge of my future care. What I'm unclear about is why we never got to the correct aisle together. Now, incidentally, same day, Jane Pauley, we lost a legend here, especially like in my youth, Mikhail Gorbachev. Like, Reagan gave me the presidential fitness test in that elementary school, and Mikhail Gorbachev elsewhere was incredibly influential and important in the American media when current events were slightly integrated just as to what was going on in the newspaper for whatever reason. And at that time it was Newsday and New York Post and New York Times. Those were the big three. And so but again, even in this portrayal of him from that time period, he tells a story to the reporter. Reminds me, my grandfather was an odd man. He just was. He was my cup of tea. I loved spending time with him. He had these weird way of saying things, these abstract, philosophical, artisan, like from far, far and away in the great beyond, that had seen vast amounts of history and didn't necessarily have the words to put it in English for me, to inform me of just how important of a man he was in the world, of being worldly, and now then in New York. But he was just like this quiet great that I just sat next to him and I felt like I was in the presence of greatness, and that was good enough. So Mikhail Gorbachev tells this story, and if he had horn-rimmed glasses on, he would remind me very much of my nonno, which is Italiano for grandpa. And so in his past, my grandfather passed in 1996, but at age 91 chronologically, Mikhail Gorbachev just passed away. And so the silliness of this movie is what it feels like. Not in Cold Spring Harbor and Lloyd Harbor. They were very serious children, very serious. And it's what I appreciated being around. I just recently saw, to offset that, like a Chelsea Clinton, very serious woman, knows what rap is and whatnot. I saw an interview with her and Hillary. It looks like a great relationship. But again, she's able to not get necessarily involved with this hippity hop. But as an IHOP perspective of pan flaps, I hear that's the new kid trend word for pancakes, but whatever, on that, watching it, being very serious. So I'm going to go but the high school of some of St. Dominic's, like the people I didn't hang out with, they were this doofy stupid that comes after this. There was also Doofy Stupid in St. John's, it feels like. I mean, again, Doofy Stupid's everywhere. Jason's full of it. TIMEFRAME's like, oh my God, it is like the worst thing to have to live around when it is so not your cup of tea. It's like, I don't want to be serious all the time, but I also don't like this foul vulgarity that comes with this non-serious repertoire. I don't know.
Hey,
Hey.
Tom Stansfield. Really?
Yeah, I'm more the free spirit.
So like this guy comes over, he's the guy who flushes stuff down the toilet bowl. Then it goes to like this kitchen scene where they're arguing.
Don't worry, nothing broke.
Baby, come on! What are you doing leaving me in a goddamn car? Shake that tail, baby. Come on, let's get a move on.
Oh, hold your horses and try acting
just, I don't enjoy it on the big screen. I don't enjoy it in my daily life. Never have, probably never will, but it exists. And it's just so much time wasted on whatever enjoys this. I'm just a different person, built at like King Star for something different. Now, interestingly enough, on my way to the Mikhail Gorbachev piece of a memorial or a tribute to him, there's this commercial of this portrayal. They call this person Caesar, which in Roman Colosseum, that's red flags for me. He's also doing an impression of an elephant. And then he's hanging out with New York giants in some room, all three of the ones that are around my age that go by the name Manning. And they're part of this New York crew along with Trump and whatever else went on in places I don't know, and I have no idea what's up with the Jets. I have no idea who their quarterback was. Wasn't like a household name ever. I think there was a Lombardo or a Testaverde. I've heard only in passing because somebody wanted to make sure I knew that message. I've been around a lot of abrupt people, but I have no idea what the message meant. Just it stuck in my craw.
Are you a referee? Apple, Omaha, illegal substance, pylon, interception. How many words? Break it into words. Oh, I know it. Helmet catch. Stop guessing the helmet catch. Isn't the Caesar Sportsbook app with Caesar's rewards? The more you play, the more stuff you earn, and they have fast payouts because Caesar is the man? Yes! Is that a thing? How is that even possible? Nice job, Coach. It's 27 words. Worst close ever. Pretty obvious. Impossible. Who was my favorite, Archie? If you've been...
So that's a commercial as I go towards the end of this Sunday morning's program, which I think was E35. The hat and the coat just looks so correct for the time period.
Gorbachev's final hours as president of the Soviet Union.
Christmas Day, 1991. Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev arrives at the Kremlin for what will mark the end of the Soviet Union and his last day as president. Back then, I was still at ABC. For reasons of his own, Gorbachev was granted an ABC News production team and me exclusive access. We join him in his Kremlin office. There's an innocuous-looking briefcase holding, we are told, the nuclear launch codes. His successor, Boris Yeltsin, will have one of his people pick it up shortly. The American president, George H.W. Bush, is celebrating the Christmas holiday at Camp David. Gorbachev calls to say goodbye.
Алло. Да, Джордж, дорогой, приветствую.
George, my dear friend, I greet you.
Поздравить вас с Рождеством и Барбару.
Let me begin by saying something pleasant. I would like to say Merry Christmas to you and to Barbara and to your entire family.
It's how the final hours go. A series of goodbyes culminating with a farewell broadcast to the Russian people.
Дорогие соотечественники.
Dear fellow citizens.
An hour after the resignation speech, I'm invited back into the office.
Прощаем.
This warm, friendly greeting is all we ever saw.
Dad, I understand we're saying goodbye,
Но я говорю до свидания.
but I'm not saying farewell.
I hope not.
Gorbachev's answer to an innocuous question resonates strangely now, more than 30 years later, here in the United States.
What are you going to do tomorrow? Завтра я буду еще здесь разбираться.
Tomorrow I will still be here sorting out some papers.
вещи.
And some personal effects.
Одно в архив, другое в
Some
муку,
will be sending, will be
третье на
sent to
дачу,
archives.
четвертое на квартиру.
Some will be destroyed. Some I
Элементарный
will take
порядок.
to my country
Как
home
говорится,
and
большая
send it to
стирка,
my
большая стирка.
city apartment. So I have to do it. It's the big wash.
And a haunting answer to an earlier question. Was there a Russian fable that might explain to an American child why Gorbachev's so popular in our country?
A fable for an American child. 1991. I didn't see this until 2022. They didn't air it in a place that I could find it.
Country was being forced out of office in his.
На Востоке молодой правитель
Centuries
хотел
ago,
править
there was
до него.
a young ruler in the Orient, and he wanted to rule in a different way, in a more human way, in his kingdom. And he asked the views of the wise men.
Через 10 лет
And it took 10 years to bring 20 carts with volumes of advice.
он сказал, когда я буду читать
He said, when am I going to read all that? I have to govern my country. 10 years later, they brought him just 10 volumes of advice.
Сказал, что это много.
He said, that too is too much.
Тогда через 5 лет ему повезли.
5 years later, he was brought just one volume, small
Но, к
volume.
сожалению, уже вот 25 лет прошло,
But
и он
unfortunately,
лежал на смертном одре.
25 years had passed and he was on his deathbed.
И когда этот мудрец
And when
посмотрел на него, он даже не стал ему книгу.
the wise man looked at the book, he didn't even give the book to that dying man.
А в общем, все то, что здесь написано,
He said, well, all in all that is here
свести
can be
просто.
summarized in a simple formula.
Люди рождаются,
People are born,
страдают
people suffer,
и умирают.
and people die.
По-моему, очень ёмкий ход.
People are born, people suffer, and people die. Mikhail Gorbachev would live another 30 years, widely admired throughout much of the world for bringing an end to a communist Soviet Union. But Gorbachev was mostly ignored and sometimes even reviled at home for the very things that made him so popular in the West.
On the opposite hand, I feel I have the opposite problem of being quieted and silenced and forgotten about while they all gather and dance and rejoice in some fool's mission and fool's gold, while I have none. There were promises made and promises broken. I don't know why. But it does go, why don't you read any of the books or any of the whatever? It doesn't matter. They broke the world. They broke the promise. And people know about it. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And it's September 4th, 2022.